Hello YouTubers. I have a new subscriber, Care 1213, and she tells me she is going to be getting a red DN01, and she asked me if I would do a video showing how the different drive modes on the DN01 work. And if you are a follower of my videos, you'll know that my DN01 is a fully automatic motorcycle from Honda, and it's got a couple of different drive modes. It's got two automatic modes, a sport mode and a regular drive mode. And then if you tip this little trigger switch here, and I'm hoping I'm picking that up on the contour cam. Yeah, here you go. If you trip the little trigger switch here, it puts it into Tiptronic mode. What Tiptronic mode is a semi-manual mode, and it's kind of cool, but it's not something that I use very often, and mostly I just drive around in the drive mode. But let's take a look and see how this all works. Anyway, like most motorcycles, if you have your kickstand down when you put your motorcycle in gear, it'll kill the engine, and that is a good safety feature, and the same thing happens on the DN01. So I got to make sure my kickstand's up. I hit this button here to switch between drive mode and neutral. Whenever the bike is shut off, the bike automatically goes into neutral, so that when you start it up, it's in neutral, and therefore you have to make sure you remember to push the emergency brake. So I've got an emergency brake lever here, and I get a nice little parking light when that's engaged. So whenever you stop, that's one thing you have to remember on this particular motorcycle, is to engage that parking brake, because the bike does go into neutral. And if that doesn't seem logical, then think about it. If your bike breaks down and you can't start it and you can't put it in neutral, you can't roll it. So I guess that makes some kind of sense. Also, you don't want to start it up if it's not in neutral, right? So makes some sense there. Anyway, let's get going down the road here, and I'm going to show you how the different modes work on this bike. So we're going to engage drive. Currently I have it in the standard drive mode, D. If I hit this switch here, I can put it in sport mode. So let's start out in D. And you'll see the little ABS light on there. This bike does have ABS brakes, which is great. It's already saved my butt a couple of times when I've had to hit the brakes really hard. So here we go. Okay, this is standard drive mode. And you'll notice you do not hear the bike changing gears at all. In fully automatic mode, the bike has a continuously variable transmission. It runs smooth as silk, very comfortable ride. And the transmission tries to keep in sync with the engine so that it's constantly right at the optimum RPM and gear ratio. So what is the difference between regular drive mode and sport mode? Well, I'm glad you asked. The only real difference is in sport mode, the RPM range changes. It brings up the RPMs of the engine by about 500, and that gives you just a little bit more of a power band there, a little bit more get up and go. I rarely use the sport mode unless I'm following somebody like Brian, who wants to kind of take the twisties a little harder than I normally do. In order to keep up with him, I'll put it in sport mode. And that gives you a little more engine braking, and it also gives you a little bit more power when you hit the throttle. Okay, as I mentioned, in the regular drive mode, it's the mode you're going to probably use 99% of the time. But if you want to get a little sporty, click the button over here. It shifts into sport mode, and what that does is it brings up the RPMs just about 500 on average. Let me toggle it back and forth, and you can kind of see the RPMs go up or down at the same exact speed as I'm toggling. So in sport mode, get a little more power, a little more engine braking. Not a lot, but you know, it does add a little bit more of a sporty feel to the ride. It also uses a little more gas. But definitely a nice little added feature. As I said, mostly I drive in just regular drive mode. It conserves gas, and it's usually quick enough for me. Now, if I want to play around a little bit, I can put it in the Tiptronic mode. And I'll engage the trigger. And you'll see I switch it down, and it shows me that I'm now in first gear. And even though this is a continuously variable transmission, it has gear ranges for the Tiptronic mode. And the same switch over here is used to shift up or shift down in the gear ranges. One nice thing about the DN01 is it will not let you shift down if you're going too fast, so it won't cause the back wheel to skid out by shifting to too low a gear. However, it will let you redline going up in gears, so you do have to be a little careful there. So pretty much redline it, and then use the engine to slow me down. And that was just in first gear. But at the same time, it will let me shift up to a second gear once I hit the right speed range. It will not let me go up to a higher gear than the speed I'm going. And it won't let me shift down if I'm going too fast for the next lower gear. So it's got some intelligence built in. But like I said, it will let you redline it when you're going up in the gear range. So you can really kind of take off, and it's got a little bit of get up and go. And I did not have the throttle open very wide there because I just don't want to do that on this road. It's too twisty. And I can shift down as I get closer to the right gear range. Another feature is if you start going really slow, the bike will automatically downshift when you get going too slow for the gear you're in. If I get going below 10, it will shift down to 1. There we go. And I did not touch the button. It did that all by itself. And again, as I get up to the correct speed range, I can go up or I can go down as long as it's within the range that gear supports. So that's a very nice feature. But as I said, I can really open it up and redline it if I want to. One other interesting feature about this bike is you can change between the different modes at any time, at any speed. I just shifted back to normal drive mode, or I could shift it to sport mode, or back to Tiptronic. And in the Tiptronic mode, it'll automatically gauge, based on your speed, what the optimum gear should be. And then you can go from there. So right now, let's put it back in regular drive mode. Another thing to know about the bike is when you get going slower than about 10 miles an hour, if you're not giving it the gas, the engine will, the transmission will sense that you're going slow, and it'll automatically engage the automatic clutch. And that's okay, but something to know about that is if you go slow, say you're on a slope and going downhill, and you slow down to below 10 miles an hour and you're not giving it any gas at all because you're braking, the engine will go into neutral. And then if you allow the bike to start coasting downhill, getting over 10 miles an hour, and then you all of a sudden give it a little bit of throttle, when the engine engages, it can slide the back tire. I've had that happen to me once or twice. So the way around that is you have to learn how to drag your rear brake whenever you're slowing down to do a slow U-turn or a slow turn into somewhere, or if you're not planning to come to a complete stop. That will keep the engine engaged with the transmission and prevent you from temporarily losing power, which when you're making a slow speed turn or a U-turn can be very disconcerting. It takes only a second for it, or a fraction of a second, for it to re-engage, but that could be long enough for you to dump the bike if you're going slow enough. So that is something to be aware of. Now as I get up here to this next road, it's a nice straight road for a ways. I'll show you the Tiptronic mode and let it wind out just a little bit. Okay, as I mentioned, you can put it in Tiptronic mode at any speed, and it'll put the right gear. And we wind it out. And that's about as much as I'm willing to do. I'm a chicken shit. So it's now in 6th gear. I can downshift to 5th, or back up to 6th, or I can put it back in drive mode, or shift to sport, which you could really see the RPMs go up when I hit sport from here at this speed. You feel a little jump. Anyway, that's about it for how the buttons work on the DN01. Car 1213. I hope this helps you a little bit. Anyway, like I said, most of the time you're just going to drive it in regular drive mode, and you'll ride it just like any other full-size motorcycle. The only difference is you won't have to play with the clutch lever. This is RC62. I'm wishing you a very good day.